Hi friends, I'm Sarah Jo Strawberry, and today I just want to tell you some Hogwarts secrets. Hogwarts is a mysterious place with secrets around every corner. Heck, there's so many they've got a chamber chock full of them. But these stories spread throughout the castle like devil's snare in the dark. As Dumbledore said,
"What happened down in the dungeons between you and Professor Quirrell is a complete secret. So, naturally, the whole school knows."
Many, in fact most of the professors in Hogwarts Legacy have secrets of their own, some great, some small. Even Professor Onai is aware of the breadth of secrecy among the Hogwarts faculty when she tells us,
I suspect there is much about each of your professors that would surprise and impress you.
After having every possible conversation with the professors, analyzing their notes and letters, exploring their surroundings, and even looking into the meanings of their names, I've pieced together what I believe these secrets may be. The meanings behind their names has proved to be very important, as these characters are very intentionally named. The meanings behind their names can point to something in their background, their personalities, or simply to the subject they teach. For example, the name Onai is a Shona name that means look and see, which makes it a perfect surname for a divination professor. Some of these secrets are eventually told to us by the professors themselves or someone else, and others require a lot of digging and piecing things together to figure out. I've ranked these secrets from most to least obvious, taking into account if the secret is outright stated by their professor or in their letters, and which ones are harder to figure out. Let's begin with the three professors who seemingly have no secrets. First is Care of Magical Beasts Professor Bai Howen. She is, if you will, a true neutral on the alignment chart. There's seemingly nothing unseemly about her or her background, her history. She just is who she is and is upfront about it. Even her name points to this sense of innocence about her, with Bai being a name of Chinese origin, meaning, among other things, pure. And the surname Howen is, again, a name of Chinese origin that means a loyal swallow, which would point to a sense of loyalty that would, in turn, show that she is just a very innocent person without any secrets. One thing that I thought was strange and couldn't really piece anything else together here to come up with a secret is that in her chambers, in her hut, there is a mummified werewolf fetus. I'm curious as to how she acquired this, because wouldn't that also be a human? This next one, it's a little, I guess, inaccurate to say he has no secrets, but we just know so much about this character from pretty early on, and that is Professor Eleazar Fig, Professor of Magical Theory, who is also the professor who takes us under his wing from before we even go to Hogwarts, from when we're first accepted, to help catch us up to speed with the other students. He moves about in very mysterious, secret ways, but again, if he has a secret, I haven't figured it out. I do want to do a deeper dive on Professor Fig, so maybe in the future I will uncover something, but as for making this video, there wasn't anything I could find concretely, though I do have some theories of my own that I've discussed in past videos. Hopefully you could hear me over that bird. The birds are birding today. The final of these seemingly secretless professors is one that has been seen across the— oh my goodness gracious, birdies! It can't be that bad. Alright, shut me up, I guess. The final of these seemingly secretless professors is one that has been seen across the Wizarding World timeline, and that is Magical History Professor Cuthbert Binns. And it's not surprising that this is someone who has no secrets, because he's quite transparent. Alright, I've closed the window next to me. I will accept not having a fresh breeze for the sake of not hearing really loud blue jays and grackles in the background. Moving on to the professors who do have some secrets. The first, whose secret is rather obvious, is Headmaster Phineas Nigellus Black. His secret is that, despite being very concerned about his appearance, he suffers from boils. We learn very on in the story of Hogwarts Legacy that Headmaster Black is rather vapid and just very much a typical member of the Black family. He tasks his deputy headmistress, Professor Weasley, and Professor Fig with tasks that really should fall to the headmaster so that he can take more time to do whatever it is that he does. Cancel Quidditch, I don't know. And quaff. Again, as a typical member of the Black family, he is unsurprisingly rather obsessed with blood purity, trying to protect pure-blood students and exclude Muggle-born students. This obsession with blood purity does hint to real-life groups that are obsessed with blood purity, to get a little real here, and in turn there is focus on appearance. So it makes sense that they would pull that into this character. We first learn of Headmaster Black's affliction during the Polyjuice plot quest when, as we are disguised as Headmaster Black, we encounter Professor Sharp, who tells us he's brewed the cure for boils Headmaster Black requested from him. Later on, at the end of this quest, we get the chance to explore Headmaster Black's chambers and office, and it is there that we find an apothecary receipt for one vial of cure for boils, and we also find an itemized receipt that was sent to the ministry for them to pay the majority of, which includes things like mustache wax, hair tonic, a pearl-handled comb, just very fancy, unnecessary beauty product, I guess you could call it. And look, I'm saying this as someone who has a rose quartz face roller, but I got that for like, I don't know, not even $10 at TJ Maxx, okay? So I have some fancy beauty tools, but not like this, and I'm certainly not charging my work with paying for them. Next is Flying Professor Madame Chio Kogawa. Her secret is one that is told to us outright, which is that she had tried out for the Toyohashi Tengu Quidditch team, but gave up her Quidditch career after she found out her friend Asuka, who was trying out for the team with her, had put Felix Felicis in their tea, which caused them to perform better than they ever had during their tryouts. After she discovered this betrayal from her friend, she withdrew from contention, having not tried out really as herself with her actual skill sets, and never revealed Asuka's secret, that she was the one who had put the Felix Felicis in both of their tea. Asuka went on to play for the Tengu for 2 seasons, but Madame Kogawa instead took on a ministry job and eventually went on to become flying professor at Hogwarts. Our next secret is that of herbology professor Mirabelle Garlick. Now, Professor Garlick is a very innocent, sweet professor. She's one of my absolute favorites in the game. And look, having a secret does not take away from someone being sweet and innocent, and especially this secret, one that I don't think should be a secret, but in a student-teacher relationship, your students probably just wouldn't know this about you because it's not relevant to them, but Professor Garlick's secret is that she's queer, and most likely a lesbian. It could be argued that the first hint in the game that Professor Garlick is queer comes from her friendship with Sirona Ryan, who is a trans woman. In the game, we learn that Sirona had taken Professor Garlick under her wing when they were students at Hogwarts, and that Sirona herself had felt othered for being trans, as Professor Garlick felt othered for being Muggle-born. And we learn that Sirona took this othering that she received and took on sort of a big sisterly role, taking other students under her wing who also felt othered and creating a chosen family. It is only in the book, The Art and Making of Hogwarts Legacy, that it is stated outright that Professor Garlick has yet to meet the right witch, which is where the idea that she is most likely a lesbian comes from. Our next secret is that of divination professor Mudiwa Onai. Her secret is that, like her daughter Natty and her late husband, she is also an animagus. During Natty's questline, she reveals to us that she is an animagus, her animagus form being gazelle, and that self-transfiguration is commonly practiced at Wagadu. Her father was also an animagus, and his form was a giraffe. We don't learn in the game that Professor Onai is also an animagus, but seeing that it is common practice at Wagadu, one could assume that she had also undergone self-transfiguration. It is only in the art and making of Hogwarts Legacy that it is revealed that Professor Onai is also an animagus, her animal form being an African fish eagle, but she refuses to transform following the death of her husband. This next secret comes from some assumptions on my part, extrapolating from little tidbits and piecing together what I believe is this professor's secret. That would be astronomy professor Satyavati Shah. Professor Shah's secret is that she resents her magical ability due to the fact that her sister is a squib and they were raised primarily in the Muggle world. From the letter we find in her chamber and from the conversations we have with her, it is very clear that she is incredibly close with her sister and very fond of her sister. During our conversations with her, she seems to dismiss other magical pursuits, with a particular distaste for divination. She relishes in the fact that astronomy is a study relevant to both the wizarding world and the Muggle world, and it serves as common ground for she and her sister. Despite coming from a magical family, according to the art and making of Hogwarts Legacy, she was raised largely in the Muggle world. This, and the fact that her beloved sister does not have any magical abilities, would undoubtedly create a disinterest in all things magical. Her surname may also point to this dichotomy, with Shah having two different meanings, both merchant and king. Her first name also points to her love of the factual nature of astronomy, with the name Satyavati meaning truth-seeking. Some may argue that this next professor should be higher up on the list, as her secret is, perhaps it could be argued, a bit more obvious than some of the others I've already mentioned, but this professor is Defense Against the Dark Arts professor Dinah Hecat. Her secret is that she worked with time turners during her time as an unspeakable, and this is what led to her injury. The name Dinah is most famously used, at least to me, as the name of Alice's pet cat in Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland books. Time is a concept often brought up in these books, most notably when the White Rabbit panickily checks his pocket watch and cries,
I'm late for a very important date. No time to say hello, goodbye, I'm late.
There are also numerous timepieces in Professor Hecat's spaces, most notably a wall of various clocks in her classroom. Her surname Hecat is very obviously derived from the Greek goddess of magic, witchcraft, crossroads, and the night, Hecat, and I'm using the pronunciation Hecat as I've over the years tried to look to see what the proper pronunciation of this name is, and have never gotten a straight answer. I've heard Hecat, Hecat, Hecate, Hecate. So to differentiate between Professor Hecat and the goddess, I will use the pronunciation Hecate. Hecate is known as a triple goddess, oft represented as being triple-formed or triple-bodied, representing the three aspects of life, maiden, mother, and crone. This represents the passage of time, as well as Hecate's dominion over different aspects of the world. She is a mediator between realms, being one of few who can traverse between realms, including the underworld. She also has control over the boundaries between realms. Being one of the most powerful and revered of the Hellenistic deities, Hecate's symbols and associations are plentiful and include mirrors. While not a popularly cited symbol of Hecate, mirrors are plentiful in Professor Hecat's office, classroom, and chambers, and interestingly, often come in threes. These mirrors of Professor Hecat coming in threes could be a reference to Hecate's triple goddess status, as well as her seeming ability to traverse through time. Mirrors are also often used as tools for divination and scrying, and one could argue that these acts are explorations through time itself. It is also worth noting that mirrors appear in the Alice in Wonderland stories, more specifically in the book Alice Through the Looking Glass, where the looking glass, the mirror, is itself a portal between worlds. During one of our side conversations with Professor Hecat, she tells us that she was injured by time. She can't go into the details because of her former position as an unspeakable, but we do know that she was a classmate of Headmaster Black, and through that we know she's about 43 years old at the time of the game. The only known way one in the wizarding world could be injured by time is through misuse or overuse of a time turner. Time turners are guarded by the Department of Mysteries, where unspeakables work. Also, I have never seen this myself in the game, but I did see a Reddit post that sometimes when you are in Professor Hecat's classroom and she is standing in front of a desk with some mirrors on it, 3 again, that sometimes you can catch a glimpse in the mirror of a blurry version of Professor Hecat's younger self with black hair. All right, we are now, cracking my neck. We are now in the home stretch and looking into our final 3 professors. And this next one I originally had lower on the list until, as I was looking into other professors, I started gathering little bits of information that made me realize far more about her, and that is Deputy Headmistress and Transfiguration Professor Matilda Weasley. Her secret is that she is an incredibly powerful witch. She is a former curse breaker who once traveled the globe with her lover Paul, who is also a curse breaker, and shared knowledge with magical communities throughout the world. Professor Weasley is a far more powerful witch than her mild-mannered personality would make us think. She's one of the 5 professors who arrives in Keeper's Cavern to assist us and Professor Fig in the battle against Ranrock, and even saves us and clears a path after Professor Sharp almost accidentally kills us. Even her name hints at the power brewing under the surface, with Matilda being a Germanic name meaning mighty in battle. We learned during our second conversation with Madame Kogawa that during her time working for the Japanese Ministry of Magic, she met Professor Weasley during her global travels. Madame Kogawa follows this up by saying that this is something we should not mention to Professor Weasley or ask her about, showing that it is something she would rather keep hidden. In our second conversation with Professor Onai, she mentions that Professor Weasley's work once took her around the globe. Similar to Madame Kogawa hinting that Professor Weasley would rather keep her past hidden, Professor Onai is careful not to give too many details about Weasley's past, but shares that Professor Weasley was well known in the wizarding community for sharing magical knowledge between countries. Professor Onai also hints that this sharing of knowledge may not have been ministry sanctioned, or maybe that's simply my interpretation. It is fully revealed in the art and making of Hogwarts Legacy that Professor Weasley was once a ministry employee who, on assignment, met the brilliant, free-spirited wizard Paul. She decided to leave her ministry career to travel the globe with him as freelance curse breakers. Eventually, she grew tired of their nomadic lifestyle and left him as Paul wanted to continue to travel, and she returned to Hogwarts to become Deputy Headmistress and Transfiguration Professor. It makes sense that Professor Weasley would be far more powerful than she appears, as in the original Harry Potter series, it is made quite clear that the Weasley family are very powerful despite their humble background. And now we come to my favorite character in Hogwarts Legacy, and here I give a trigger warning for substance abuse issues. This next secret is that of Potions Master Aesop Sharp, and his secret is that he is an alcoholic. If you've been on my channel before, seen my videos, I have talked at length about Professor Sharp, and have multiple videos about him, deep dives and character analyses. And in my very first video, I talk about him possibly being an alcoholic. And initially, when I played the game, I thought I was kind of making things up. During the sorting ceremony, he is very fidgety, and this could be explained by his pain, that sitting for too long exacerbates his pain, and he's starting to fidget and move around. He also appears to be nodding off, as an alcoholic or someone who abuses certain substances may do. It also made sense to me that he would possibly be an alcoholic, as he experiences extreme physical pain and no doubt experiences some mental anguish as well, feeling guilty for the death of his former Auror partner. So I wouldn't be surprised if he drank or used some other substance to help numb that pain. It is while exploring his chambers that the evidence for him possibly being an alcoholic becomes quite clear. In his chambers, there are a couple butterbeer bottles, which wouldn't necessarily mean too much. There is supposed to be a low alcohol content in butterbeer. However, hidden in some odd spots, again in his sitting room and his bedroom, there are 6 bottles of whiskey. And again, one is hidden up on a shelf, way out of view. It's kind of hard to find at first. I only found it because I had put on photo mode, and the ones in his bedroom are hidden in drawers on his desk that you have to look really closely to realize they are the same necks of the whiskey bottle that you find, or the 2 whiskey bottles you find in his sitting room. And if you are interested in some more of my takes about Professor Sharp, I do have a playlist of my Professor Sharp videos. I have some other theories about him. I also have a video of some other possible secrets of his that also goes into some possible secrets of Professor Fig. So check that out if you're interested. Our final professor to talk about is the one that actually inspired the whole idea for this video. I was originally going to make a video just about this one secret, but thought it would be interesting to look into some more of the other professor's secrets. But our final professor we are looking at is Professor Abraham Ronen, Charms Professor. And again, I give another trigger warning here for fertility struggles, but his secret is that he and his wife cannot have children. In a letter we find to Professor Ronen from his wife, there is no mention of any children of their own or anything hinting that they have children of their own. However, it is made very clear that they are both fond of the children in their village. She mentions that the village children have taken to playing gobstones outside of his study window, something that we can gather from this letter he taught to them. She's also eager to hear about his students' progress and notes how much they adore him. I remember the first time I read this letter, I was struck by the fact that there was no mention of him having children of his own. He seemed like a very paternal, very fatherly figure who just would be a natural parent. Even his position as head of Slytherin points to this, being head of house and overlooking the children in his house. It was while exploring his bedchambers that I found what seemed to me to be further evidence of this. In his bedroom, by his bed, is a bassinet. It seems regularly used with 2 crumpled pillows in the center and a blanket draped over the side. A teddy bear sits at the head of Ronen's bed, adjacent to the bassinet. Presumably, the teddy bear sleeps in the bassinet at night, serving as Ronen's proxy baby. So these things to me point at a desire to have children, but the fact they have none would seemingly show that they cannot have children. Even his name, Abraham, hints at their struggle to conceive. The name Abraham means high father, father of multitudes, father of a nation, and originates from Abraham, originally Abram, the founder of the Jewish people. The term Abrahamic religions also comes from Abraham, and the religions that fall under the Abrahamic umbrella include Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. As someone who was raised Baptist, my knowledge of the story of Abraham comes primarily from the Old Testament of the Bible. I'm actually named after Abraham's wife, Sarah, who is one of my mom's favorite biblical figures. Abraham and his wife, Sarah, originally named Sarai, struggled to conceive, though they tried into old age, and it is argued what old age means, but past their prime. Abraham needed to have an heir in order to fulfill his covenant with God. So as he and his wife were struggling to conceive, he fornicated with Hagar, Sarah's maid, and this produced a son named Ishmael. Soon after, Sarah, then allegedly 90 years old, became pregnant with her and Abraham's son Isaac. So perhaps, like the biblical Abraham, who with his wife struggled to conceive a child, Professor Abraham Ronen and his wife have also struggled to conceive and start a family of their own, and instead have taken on the village children and Professor Ronen's students as children of their own, as generations that they can, in their way, contribute to raising. And I think that's beautiful, honestly. So there you have the secrets of the professors of Hogwarts Legacy. Let me know if there are some secrets that I completely overlooked, especially for Howin and Fig and Bins, and if there are hints to some of the secrets I did mention that I failed to include. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, especially if you want more Hogwarts Legacy content and Hogwarts Legacy professor analyses and deep dives. If there's something you'd like me to cover, let me know. And again, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! And every... Aw, dishwasher, no. I've ranked these secrets by least... No. I keep messing that up. I've ranked these secrets by least... We encounter Professor Sharp, who tells us he has cured the... Nope.